It's me again. Don't worry, I'm not going to burst into song too often, and I'm certainly not going to attempt to beat Adele because that ship has sailed. Welcome back. Hopefully you're managing to do this before summer. Please don't be working too hard over summer. You genuinely deserve a break. If you're watching this in the summer holidays, I'm questioning why. I'm not judging you. I never judge people. However, I understand your desire to work, but please, please, please make sure you're taking time off. If you're watching this before summer and going, well, duh, I'm not working in the summer, good-ish, but mainly good. So this lesson is going to talk about a different factor that can influence voting behaviour. It is age, how old you are. Don't be cheeky. We are going to look at how age does impact, but also how it doesn't really impact who you are likely to vote for. To clarify, in Scottish elections, so for MSPs, that's members of the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood, you can vote in that election at 16 years old. In Wales, in the Welsh elections for the Welsh Assembly, as of this month, I think it was either the end of May 2020 or the beginning of June, they passed a motion that you can vote now at 16 in Wales as well. However, you cannot vote for the Westminster elections for MPs until you're 18. Yes, I know. To put this in perspective, on the right-hand side are some of the common things that, make you an adult, or people think, oh, if I do that, I'm a grown-up. Look at the ages. Yeah. Make of that what you will. So, how does age impact voting? Well, the biggest thing we can say is actually age impacts voting in that the older you are, the more likely you are to turn up to vote. What you see in front of you are kind of the four most recent elections. Now, what I will say there is the EU one is the European Union election, not Brexit. Okay, Brexit's been going on much longer than that. So if we start on the left-hand side with 2015, in the 2015 general election, 38% of those aged 18 to 24 voted. That's just over a third. However, those aged over 65, 74% of the elderly turned out to vote. That's 3/4 of their population turned out. Now, turnout to vote includes physically going to the polling station to cast your vote. It includes postal votes, where you can post it back in advance, and proxy votes, which is where you nominate someone to cast your vote for you. It includes all of that. What we see is in the European Union election and in the 2017 election, so the 2017 one was Theresa May's election, 54% of those aged 18 to 24 turned out, so over half. And we do see a slight drop in the elderly. However, it's still clear that the older you are, the more likely you are to vote. That's a massive deal. Why is it that 46% of those aged 18 to 24 didn't vote? Why would you not vote? In terms of general election 2019, we see that dip again. And again, the elderly numbers rise, the low ones drop. So young people, under half of young people generally turn out to vote who can vote. I would be hoping, there is meant to be a Scottish election next year in 2021. I would be seriously hoping that I heard each and every one of you turned out to vote. I genuinely don't care how you vote. Go in and spoil your ballot, doodle on it, vote for whatever party you believe in. But I would be hoping that you cast your vote next year. Okay. However, so we're kind of looking at how age influences the fact whether you turn up or not. This is from the BBC, and this was what they were estimating people would vote for in the last election. And there is a question here, is it a generational divide? So what they mean there is, well, if you look at people 18 to 24 and even up to 34, they're almost half of that group are going to vote Labour. So what's important to say, by the way, is this graph here is showing you out of 100 people, how many bothered to vote. So, well, it's a percentage, but out of 100 people, 38 people voted. What this is showing you is, of the people who did vote, what percentage of people voted for the party. So you can really clearly see here that younger people are more likely to vote Labour. Think about the things Labour make promises on. Benefits, unemployment benefits, help back to work, free education, free school meals, university tuition, the NHS giving money to that. Labour are also, although they've accepted Brexit is happening, they do believe in working together and sharing things. And what we see is the older you are, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. The Conservative target a lot of their election materials to talking about pensions and care homes and elderly care because they know that's where they get their votes. So yes, age can have an influence on who you vote for. Again, this is looking at the 2019 election. Take a minute to pause the video or look at the slides and just take that in. In 2019, of those who did vote, 62% of young people voted Labour. That's massive. And 64% of those aged 65 and over voted Conservative. This is a key example showing you the younger you are, the more likely you are to vote Labour. The older you are, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. Would you say, looking at that age influences voting behaviour? Yes. Yes, it does. It's not the only factor, but you can argue that age definitely has an influence on how people vote. You might remember this one from last lesson. I can hear the groans from here. Again, if you find this tricky and don't understand it, please don't worry, okay? I'm giving you lots of facts. You don't need every single fact, but I'm giving you enough information to answer any questions that might come up. What we see here again is this is the elections by year. The red line is Labour, the blue line is Conservative, and it's the percentage of the year groups that voted. It's fair to say in 1992, actually, there's not huge differences until you get to the older generation, but generally young people were kind of split between Conservative and Labour. You know, it wasn't an open race. Compare that to 2019, where you go, yeah, the younger you are, the more Labour you are, the older you are, the more Conservative you are, generally. We're making general statements here, okay? And again, for anyone interested, these are the Brexit results. So in the Brexit referendum, how did people vote? The question was, should we leave or remain? So on the graph that you see there, the no is saying, no, sorry, let me get this correct. The red one is saying, yes, we should leave. The blue is saying no. On the right-hand side, I've made a total mess of this because I've just remembered what this is. Let me double check. See, this is great, but in all honesty, I'm not going to go and record a brand new video because I don't think I have the energy. Yes, I totally messed that up. I do apologise. I'm going to put in a bit to skip to because I can't edit the video. The left one is the Indie Ref, the Scottish Independence Referendum. Silly Miss Smith, I should put labels on things. I know better. So what you will see when it pops back up is the graph is actually the independence. Should Scotland remain or leave the UK? The blue is no. No, Scotland should not leave. We should stay. And the red is yes, we should leave. So again, we actually see that the younger you are, the closer the vote was. For the Brexit, and this one is definitely Brexit, we do find here, if you look at the middle area, that the younger you are, it is much more likely you voted to remain in the EU, remain in the European Union. The older you were, the more likely you were to want to leave the EU. So it's really, really interesting because actually you've got the elderly here saying, nah, Scotland should probably stick around. But you've got here the elderly wanting to leave. So it's quite a flip. What we do see is young people are more likely to involve themselves in alternative methods of participation. Protesting, if you look at recent Black Lives Matter, that's a massive thing you'll be able to use in your exam next year. Social media, encouraging others to vote or boycott or send messages to MPs, signing petitions. How many petitions have you signed in the past month? Direct action. Direct action is when you want to see change quickly. So you go out on a protest march, you put up the posters such as the ones outside Duthie Park or Marshall College. They're more likely to query the job MPs do. Do they trust them? Well, there's nobody like me in Parliament. If you look at Parliament, the majority of MPs are still old white men. Why would I vote for that? Is what many young people will think. So we do know that age can have an impact. Younger people are much less likely to vote Conservative. The turnout is higher in older groups. Therefore, if you know 75% of the elderly are turning out, are the elderly going to be voting saying, oh, we're going to give £1,000 to every 18-year-old? No, they're not going to vote for you if you say that. If you tell them every pensioner is now getting extra winter fuel allowance, or that their pension is safe, or that they're going to get free care, they're going to vote for that. So political parties tend to target the groups that turn out most, the elderly. Therefore, they get more votes. We know young voters turned out to vote in referendums. It was very clear the majority shared the same view. And older groups, more life experience, more knowledgeable on voting, some would argue that. You've been through life, you've had jobs, you've worked with people, you understand what's true, what's false, what real life is like. However, other factors linked to education and where people stay has an impact. You could argue social class has a small impact, but it's definitely not as big as age. Is youth turnout deliberate? Is it because the young are like, what's the point of my vote? The voting system we have is flawed, so I'm better to engage in social media, sign petitions, go to protests. We also know that older groups are more likely to be an active member of a political party because they know what it stands for. So that is age in a nutshell. I hope I haven't confused you too much. I will clarify in the live if anybody needs. If you can get these questions done by summer, that would be brilliant. If not, we will cover it kind of first 2 weeks back as well.